Welcome to JHart Modelworks. It's time to wrap up the Revell 69 Chevy Nova Restomod build, so join me as we get the body on and finish her up. Welcome to my workbench. Let's get started. The kit includes a dome light, so we've painted that area silver. We're then just going to apply some Bondic, spread that around, and then we will carefully place our dome light in there. Then hit it with the UV light to cure it in place. Alright, so we're going to put some Bondic for the rear window as well, and it looks like I'm putting a lot down. I'm really not. What I'm doing is I'll put a drop down and then I'll spread it around, and I'll put another small drop and spread it around. You don't need a lot of this, but it's good to have it spread so you have a lot of contact area. We'll just carefully set this in place. We're going to clean it with a wet Q-tip real quick to make sure we don't have any on the glass. And then we'll go ahead and cure it. Now it says about 4 seconds. I like to do at least 10 with the UV light so that it really cures properly. Now the front windshield has these sun visors that a UV light won't go through, so I'm going to go ahead and use some Bob Smith Super Gold Plus CA glue on this. And I'm just going to go along the edges here and just put a tiny bead of CA glue, let that sit, and then go ahead and hit the bottom as well. Again, we don't want a whole lot, but we definitely want it spread, and again, we want contact all the way across, so we're going to go ahead and spread that before it cures. And then it's back to the Bondic for the side windows. Now we are just going to apply some right around this little lip. And again, it looks like I'm putting a ton on. I'm just putting a drop here and then spreading it, drop there and spreading it. Then we're just going to slide this into place. It's a little fiddly, but if we get any on the glass, we'll just clean it off before we cure it. Then we'll just hold it down and cure it for about 10 seconds. Once that's in place, I'm going to go down along this bottom edge and put a nice, fairly thick bead of the Bondic under there and cure that in place. So it's going to act like a little ledge and it'll hold everything secure. We're just going to repeat that process for the vent windows and on the other side. Alright, now we're going to use a little Bob Smith Instacure, and we're just going to put a tiny drop right here so that we can place our rear view mirror. And I like to angle this a little bit so that it faces towards the driver. Now we're going to move on to the door and trunk locks, and this is an awesome tip. A huge shout out to Chris from CD Scale Models. Takes the Tamiya tape and wraps it around the toothpick backwards so it's sticky side out. I used some super glue to glue the tape onto the toothpick and then wrapped it around. Then you can just stick the top of your rivet to the toothpick, dip it in some Elmer's white glue. That's what I use. I think he uses CA glue, but I don't like the risk of getting it on the paint. So I dip it in the Elmer's, and then you can, much easier than trying to fight with tweezers, slot it into the hole, then roll the toothpick off, and then clean up any excess Elmer's glue with a wet cotton bud. So much easier than how I was doing it. Thank you, Chris. In case you're wondering what I'm using for the locks, these are 1.2mm top studio rivets. Now for the door handles, we're going to try a new glue. Well, it's a new to me. It's a glue I've never used before. It's Tamiya's Multi-Purpose Cement Clear. Tamiya says that this is safe for use on clear parts as well as painted surfaces. So we're just going to put a little bit on the flat sides of the door handles and then set it into place. Now you do need to let this sit for several minutes to actually get tacky and hold, but once it does cure, it seems to be very strong. I also didn't have any issues with it damaging my paint, but I really didn't get much on the paint either. So I don't know if you can clean it up with just like a wet Q-tip or what, but I didn't have any real issues with it. Now for the side mirrors. The kit has one mirror, and that drives me nuts. I don't like one mirror. I thought about stealing the mirrors from the Chevelle, because I've got a spare Chevelle kit, but then I'd have no mirrors for the Chevelle kit. So my answer was instead to 3D model and print up some GM style mirrors. Now because these are very thin, I wasn't able to drill a hole for a metal pin, so I added a small 1/2 millimeter pin out of the same resin. I just modeled it into place. That's not really a good solution. These are very fragile. I've already broken both of them off and had to super glue them into place. I'll probably remake these so that I can fit a pin in them before I put the files up to make them available for others. We do have our hole drill. We'll drill a 0.6 millimeter hole. Then we're just going to slot them into place where they go. And we will super glue them from the inside. And once you break them off, of course, you have to super glue them from the outside, but try not to get any on the body. All in all, they look really good. I hope they'll look just as good when I remake them to hold a metal pin. Now, mounting the chassis into the body was surprisingly easy. The back just kind of slides into the back end, and then you just pull the sides open slightly, and the body just slides over that interior tub. Then you got to come to the front and pull it open again a little bit, just to slide the edges over the interior again, and then it just kind of pops into place. The C1 body kit comes with a new front grille and bumper, and there's a couple of differences. The first is that the grille and bumper are one piece instead of being separate in the original kit. The next is that the original kit had rectangular turn signals and this has round ones. So what I did was I just filled them with some Bondic, cured it, and then painted it with some Tamiya Clear Orange. And the third is that it's just a little bit narrower. And what this is going to do is this is going to pull it in so that the bumper is right in line with the sides of the body instead of sticking out wide. Now we're using Alclad's black chrome for all the chrome, but I went into the headlight buckets and I painted them with some Vallejo silver. That's going to make these headlights pop a bit. So we're going to put a tiny bit of Bondic on each side and then spread it around a little bit. I'm only spreading around the outside edge of the headlight area. And then we'll set the headlight in place. Go ahead and get that pressed in. We get it nice and firm and fully seated in there. It's a tight fit. And then we'll go ahead and cure it with the UV light. Then we'll go ahead and cure it with the UV light. And then repeat for the other side. And there is our newly completed front end assembly. Now we're going to put our vents onto our hood. We're going to add a little Bob Smith Insta-Set onto the part, and then using a blob of blue tack, we're going to carefully set that in place. Get that nudged around right where we want it. Be careful not to get glue everywhere, and repeat for the other one. There's also a little chrome piece for the front trim on the hood. It's kind of cool that they do make this separate so that it's easy to paint. At the same time, it is a little fiddly and kind of annoying. I'm going to get some glue on there and then carefully set that into place. Try not to get glue all over the hood, and watch your fingers. Right, there's a decal that goes on the front of here, and honestly, I shouldn't have even bothered. We all know I hate decals. But I tried. Trying to get that little bow tie to line up perfectly just was a pain. I should have just painted the bow tie blue on the raised area, but we went ahead and hit it with some microset and tried to get it down. Now we're gluing the front grille onto the body, and it does glue in really nicely. It sits perfectly. I don't know why, but for some reason, every time I'm working on the very front or rear end of the car, it's going to be out of frame. I don't know if the camera was zoomed in or if it's just something about the way it's angled. I'm very sorry, it's going to happen all the way through the video. Next, we're going to go ahead and glue our 3D printed wheels in. Just add some glue and they slide right into those spaces we created. Another awesome part of the C1 body kit is this front air dam. We're just going to go ahead and put a couple of small drops of CA here on the ends. I'm going to add a little over here in the middle too, just to help it hold better. Then we'll just press that down into place. And that wraps up the front end. Alright, moving to the rear end, and we have a new rear bumper and rear light assembly from C1 Models. We have gone ahead and hit the light buckets with some Vallejo silver again, and now we're just going to use the Bondic to glue in our tail lights and our reverse lights. Then we're just going to repeat the process, put a little glue onto each side, pick up the tail light with our little blob of blue tack, set it into place, make sure it's nice and secure, and then just cure it with the light. Now once again, we are out of frame while we're gluing this into place, and I don't know if it's just something about the body kit, but I did actually have to grind off the back end a bit to get this to fit into place. After that, you can see there where it's white where I ground it back. Once it was done, it just kind of glued in and it sets right into place and lines up with the body. So if you are working with this body kit, just watch that back end. We're just going to go ahead and add some glue onto the wheels and drop them into the spacers as well. And we're once again using the Tamiya contact cement on the rear spoiler. This is another part from the body kit from C1. Looks like I put a huge amount on there. I really didn't. I just spread it really thin and then just carefully set that into place. You don't want to have to slide it around too much because you don't want to get glue everywhere. And in the end, it sits pretty nicely. I decided I wanted to add some ProTech hood pins. We're going to use just a tiny bit of this contact cement on the bottom of the photo etch, and we're going to clean off any excess. I don't want any squeezing out when I press this down. So just want a tiny bit, and then we're going to set it in place with our tweezers and push that down and just kind of get it nudged right where we want it. And again, just a tiny bit of that cement on there, and then press it down. Those add just a little extra to that front end of the build. Now we're going to start making our license plates, and I don't have any soda can right now. The Monster can has a texture on most of it, but it's smooth right here on the nutrition information, so we're going to cut from here. I don't want to kill a brand new blade trying to do this. I keep some old blades handy, and I'm just going to put one in the hobby knife and use that to cut the aluminum. Now that we've got it cut, we need to flatten it out. I'm going to try a couple of different methods here. I'm going to start by rolling just the barrel of a hobby knife over it, and that'll help a little. Afterwards, we'll start actually rolling it out and bending the... I don't want to put any sharp bends because I'm trying not to crease the aluminum. Eventually, we're just going to end up rubbing it flat. So now that we have it flat, we need to remove the paint. And I tried a lot of different ways to do this. I tried stripping it with lacquer thinner. I tried using a Dremel and a polishing pad. I tried the sander, which was far too aggressive on the Dremel. What ended up working was 400 grit Tamiya sanding sponge. And now we can put down our license plate decals, which I have done make your own decals and just use the Texas My Plates website where you get custom plates to kind of create these. And then I just took them into Photoshop and shrunk them down. So we're just going to cut these off, and we don't have to get real close now. We'll get real close and get them trimmed up once we actually get them put down on the metal. So we're just going to put our decals in some hot water. We've put some micro set down onto the metal. That'll help the decal stick a little bit. Just want to get it off that backing. Brush as much of the solution off as we can, and then roll it with a cotton bud to make sure we get all the excess solution out from underneath it and that we have no air bubbles and everything's nice and flat. Once that is dried, we can go ahead and cut these off. And because we're using the white DIY decal solution, we need to cut right up to the very edge of the plate. Otherwise, it's going to have either white or black. I surround them in a black border, but it's just going to have a border around there that we don't need. Also, our plates are rounded on the corners, so we want to make sure and we notch the corners. We almost have a license plate. Alright, so we're going to use some ProTech Photo Etch bolt heads for this, and I like to do this over white paper. It's easier to see the photo etch once we scrape them off the backing like this. We're going to take a toothpick and grab just barely a dot of super glue on the face, flip it over, make sure you lick the clean side. A little saliva gives you just enough surface tension to pick up these tiny photo etch bolts and place them right on your glue, and then just nudge them into place. Get another tiny drop of glue, and then drop in our photo etch bolt. Now we have a license plate. Now we could just slap these on the car, but I like to place them on the little license plate pieces that come with the kit. It's kind of like a little trim or a mounting plate. Once we have them glued onto the plate, then we can just go ahead and glue that onto the front of the bumper. And again, I'm sorry, I'm out of screen because of the position of that camera. And again, we're going to glue the rear license plate onto the rear bumper. And now we've got a couple more decals to do. All my builds get toll tags. So we're going to go ahead and cut a North Texas toll tag off. We'll apply a little micro set and then scoot the toll tag off the backing. Technically these should go on the inside, but I do them on the outside. And our last decal is the Texas registration sticker that marks the month and year that we completed the build. We're just going to nudge these two where they belong, get them all lined up. Use our cotton bud to remove any excess water or decal solution. And we are done with the decals. The last parts to go on this build are going to be the windshield wipers. Now these would have gone on earlier, except the first time I tried to do this, I was using some other tweezers and I pinched too hard and pinged one of them off into outer space. I did manage to find it, but I had damaged the chrome paintwork that I had done to it. So I had to strip it and repaint it, and I had run out of black chrome. So I had to buy a whole new bottle of black chrome just for one wiper. There they are. We're now finished with the build. Alright guys, here we are, all wrapped up. Taking her for her final spin here. I have to say I am extremely happy with the way this one turned out. I'm loving the color. That body kit from C1 was absolutely flawless. It was an absolute blast to put on. I'll definitely be doing another one. Well, of course I'm doing another one because I've got one for the R8 convertible, but yeah, I will definitely look for, more in the future. I'm absolutely happy with this one. Do have to say I've been working on this one since July, so I am kind of glad it's done. I'm ready to move on to something else, but I am absolutely giddy with how she turned out. She's been definitely well worth it. We have our custom 69 Nova plates. A little trunk lock in there. I really like those rivets. They really do a great job for trunk locks. Got a little window cranks in there. Our Momo steering wheel, our custom shifter. Loving the triple color paint job. Oh, we have a registration sticker there, October 2022. Absolutely loving the apple candy over that Galaxy Gray. It's a gorgeous color. Love the metallic sheen on it. Love the dark shadows that it gives. The really bright highlights. With that C1 front end, it just ties in right up into the body. It doesn't stick out like the regular bumper does. With all of our engine bay detail in there. We are actually wired up into the correct firing order. We've got our oil breathers, our oil caps, our radiator cap, the overflow, our Optima battery. We did 3D print our own fan for the electric fan. The master cylinder looks good in there, that 3D printed master cylinder. 3D printed our own ignition coil. Over a dipstick down there. Designed mirrors. because the kit only had one mirror. We designed and printed our own 3D mirrors. For oil drain plug. Our chassis and suspension. Nice and clean. Love how that turned out. The wheels look like they were just kind of made to be that wide. Fits that body kit perfectly. Again, a huge shout out to Rusty McBride of Trailer Trash Customs for the rear speakers. Alright, so that's going to wrap this one up. I'm eager to get started on the next one. I'll probably start on the unboxing video while I'm editing this video here. Excited about it. I think I've got a really cool color scheme planned out for the next one as well. Until then, thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate you taking the time to watch the build, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. Also, feel free to leave comments, feedback, critique, or anything else in the comment section below. I enjoy interacting with all my viewers in the comment section and try to reply to all the comments I receive. If you want to catch future videos, please consider subscribing to my channel and make sure you click the bell notification icon so you can be notified when I upload new videos. As always, thank you for watching, keep modeling, and have a great day.